All right, so we have example 3. And now with example 3, it says name 4 different pairs of polar coordinates that represent point S on the graph. So that should be graph, but with restrictions that it's between negative 360 degrees and 360. Sorry, between that theta is between negative 360 and positive 360 degrees. So with that, what we're doing is all of our values or all of our angles that we deal with have to have a degree that's between negative 360 and positive 360 that kind of corresponds with this. So that means we can do something with our R and back it up to get to that point, or we can just do different degrees that kind of match up with that. Okay, so let's take a look at this part. We're going to have some information here first before we actually finish up this example. Here, another thing about R. If R is greater than 0, for our multiple, sorry, I didn't even read this for the first part up here. Multiple representations of R theta. That problem asks for that. So here's how we're going to deal with that. So we know the ordered pair is R and theta. Now, if R is greater than 0, to find another representation for this, we can do R. So in other words, keep R the same. And then we can do theta plus 2 pi k. And k being any integer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. K is an integer. Okay. The other way of doing it, because this is radians, so this is for radians. And you can see that because it's 2 pi, right there, 2 pi. But you also can do it with the degrees also. So again, you keep R the same. And then it's theta plus 360 degrees K. And again, K is an integer. Goes for both of them. That K and that K. So K is an integer. Okay. That's one way of looking at it, that you can do it. Now, if your R, if you want to have it where R is less than 1 or less than 0, which is negative, you can do this. So you do a negative R, and it's theta plus 2k plus 1 pi. And the whole reason why it's this way is because, remember, you're having to back it up. So that means you're kind of taking away a pi or adding pi to it. You're adding 180 degrees to it. Because, remember, half the circle is 180. So, for example, here. Half the circle is 180 degrees, right? So if we were here and then we had to back it up over on this side, it's kind of really like either adding, sorry, oh, you can't see that. So 180 degrees is right here, right? Half the circle. So if we were to take this angle, we have to back it up over on this side. That's kind of like pulling back or subtract, either adding pi to it or subtracting pi from it to get to this side, because it's a whole pi. So with that, it's like pretty much adding 180 degrees, subtracting 180 degrees from it. Because half a circle is 180. If you move it backwards, that means you're changing it 180 degrees per se. All right, and so the same thing happens here for degrees. And again, you're doing this because of the 180 degrees. And depends on if you're doing it with like the second time around, third time around, whatever. And so here, these are your rules. If it doesn't make sense to you, it's okay. Just accept them and then use them because they will work, I promise. And then later on, we'll make sure that we can get some understanding of why this is happening. And maybe it might just like click in your head as you're working and you're like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, I got you. And maybe when we do example 3, oh, sorry, okay. And maybe when we do example 3, it'll make more sense to you. Okay, so that's the information that you need here. Now, looking at it, example 3, and that's going to add in our degrees and all that great stuff to it, because we're talking about degrees between negative 360 and positive 360. So that means you're talking about degrees going around. So again, 0 degrees, 30, 45, 60, ooh, 60, not, ooh, sorry, ooh, that's 60 degrees, sorry, oh, my bad, 90 degrees, 120, 135, 150, 180, 210, 225, so on and so forth. You know those. You know these already. So you know these already, so they're not new. All right, so we have that part happening. Now, if we were to look at it, and again, let's label this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you look at it, this is on circle 3, and our angle is 150. So for example 3, we are looking at our R being 3 and our degree being 150 degrees. All right. Now, with this, because we have to keep everything between negative 360 and positive 360, so we have to be between these, theta. We're going to use these formulas here to help us to figure out values that will work for this. So here, we're going to go ahead and start off with R and then theta plus 360 K degrees. Okay. And again, because we're done with angles, we have to do the degree part. All right. Now, with this one, we already know our R is 3. Our theta is 150 degrees. And then 360 degrees. Now, with this, because we're only going between negative 360 and positive 360, if we were to put like a 1 or a 2 or a positive number here, that would make 150 plus something bigger than 360. So if we did 160 times 1, that would be 150 plus 360. And that's bigger than 360, which is our limit. So we need to make sure that we're in our limit between negative and positive 360. So here, we can't use positive numbers because that would take us past 360. So that means, oops, sorry, we can't even see that. My fault. So, I'm sorry, R is 3, 150 is your degree, and then 360 is here for the angle because we're talking about degrees. And again, if we were to put a positive 1 here for K, that would be 360 times 1, which is 360, plus 150, which is well over 360 degrees, which is our limit. We can't go past that part. So if we would do any positive number here for K to multiply it by 360, it would go well over 360. So at this point, means we have to try other numbers, like let's try negative 1. So if we try negative 1 there, we would do 150 minus 360, because remember, 360 times negative 1 is a negative 360. And then 150 plus a negative 360 would be a negative 210 degrees. Okay, and again, remember your negatives takes the value from, so remember your negative angles, instead if it goes around this way, it's going around this way. And if you do 360 minus 2, 360 minus 150, it would give you at this point right here. Again, okay, so that would be that negative 210. Okay, so that's 1. And so we have 1 is here. This is a second representation of it. Right? Then let's jump to the negative r's, because again, we can't do anything else. If we were to do a negative 2 here, that would make this well over 360. And if we do 150 minus something well over 360, well over 360, that means that it wouldn't stay within our range of negative 360 and positive 360. Okay, so that means we need to go into our other side, which is the negative r portion. That's the 2k plus 1 times 180 degrees. Okay, so when we do that part, our k, we have to again make sure everything stays within the 360. So here, and even if this part like doesn't make sense, just try numbers for k and see if you put it in there and simplify it down, if it's between the two limits, then you're good. If it's not, that means you have to choose something else. And you guys are smart. You can figure that out. All right, so we have k plus 1, and that's 180 here. Now, again, sorry, let's put the r in there. My fault. R is 3, so that'll be negative 3 this time. Okay, so for k, let's try 0. 0 is an integer. Let's try that. And again, you're going to have to do trial and error. It's not about getting it right the very first time, per se, unless you can just see it in your head. So if you need to write it down and erase it because it was wrong, then do it. It's okay. Perfectly fine. All right, so here we know 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is positive 1. And so we have 1 times 180 degrees. And it's going to be added to 150. So 180 plus 150, is that still between positive and negative 360? And yes, sir, Bob, that's 330 degrees. Okay, so that's our third one. So we have 1, 2, 3, and then it says do 4 of them. So 1, 2, and 3. All right, so now the last part is using this again, the same one we just did, but this time now finding another number. And this time we're going to try negative 1 and see if that works. So just try numbers again and see if it works or not. So negative 3. 150 plus, parentheses 2k plus 1 times 180. And again, here we're going to put in negative 1 for k. And we're going to work it out. To get 150, that's negative 2 plus 1. Negative 2 plus 1 is a negative 1 times 180 degrees. So that is 150 minus 180 degrees. And then what would that value be? Right, negative 30 degrees. Right, so that is our fourth one. And so you're either going to be using this formula here, or you're going to use this formula here. Sorry, dang it, keep missing that so you can't see it. All right, so here, you're either going to use this formula here in red, or this formula right here in pencil. You're going to do either one of those, and you're going to substitute in for k. That's all you're going to do each time. Substitute in for k. All right, so it's not bad. There's some work here. This is one I think has more thought process in it, but really it's not as bad as the identity, so it's okay.